Good evening, everyone. Today is January 28th. It is Sunday, and the 49ers just won the NFC Championship game against the Ravens. So, a lot of people here are happy, but I'm here to talk about a lot of things that are on my mind. This is the second episode, I guess, or second week I'm doing this. Still not quite sure what I'm going to call it yet, but we'll just play it by ear and see how it goes. Um, so, interestingly, this week I didn't really push or do any coding at all, per se, which is a lot different than the last, I'd say, month and a half, December and most of January. I was pushing code up to GitHub like multiple times a day, doing tons of commits, both on the data side and the front end side. But this week, I didn't really do any commits or any pushes at all because I was looking into a lot of different things. The first thing was Incorporation, and so I was looking at all the necessary steps that one needs to do to create or register a company. LLC seems to be the easiest, least amount of hassle, and it can be scaled up at a later time if you were to grow. And I was seeing things about like Delaware or California, but apparently I went through some of my records and I had originally filed some kind of form to put my name, PenPublic, filed it with the state of California Bureau of, I don't remember exactly what it is now, but yeah, so I did that a while back, and I found that information. Apparently, I needed some kind of statement of information, which I didn't do. And there's like registered agents. I'm not sure what they do either. But I think I have that, or I found some emails about that. I was messaged my aunt, and she was sent me some info from ChatGPT about more bylaws and forms and franchise taxes and fees that I guess need to be paid after you do your statement. And right now, I don't have any revenue or anything yet, so I don't even have a bank account yet, so I don't even know how I would charge all of this. Right now, I'm just paying everything out of pocket. That's kind of the point of bootstrapping, is you're just paying all your costs yourself. But luckily, there's not a whole lot of costs. But it sounds like once I fill out and finish off the rest of these forms, there's going to be some more down the road. But I guess I'll get there once I'm starting to get some revenue, which might be in a few months if everything goes according to plan. So yeah, I was kind of looking into that for a couple days. Since I was a little ahead on my project goals for this month, I already have most of my search filters and my agency profiles done on the front end. Excuse me. And so I wanted to look into some side problems that were kind of giving me some kind of make me wonder about what's going on in the world. So, in the news, there's been a lot of reported layoffs, especially beginning last year. There were like some record amount of like layoffs, especially in the Bay Area and the tech sector. But according to economists, we're heading towards a soft landing, avoided a recession, and unemployment seems to be at a relatively historic low. So these two opposing forces don't seem to make a lot of sense. And the smart economists out there are saying that just because there's a lot of layoffs doesn't mean that unemployment is really affected, because people are finding new jobs really fast. But anecdotally, if you look on, say, like job forums, LinkedIn, Reddit, it seems like a lot of people are having a really hard time getting new jobs. And this is kind of counter to what all the smart guys on CNN and all these places are saying, that the economy and the GDP is doing well. Prices are still pretty high, and the U.S., despite being in so much debt, we're actually doing really well economically, and maybe some segments of society are doing well. Perhaps the retired folks, or folks who already had a nice nest egg. But from all measures and metrics, seems like cost of living is going up. Real wages, despite minimum wage going up, when people lose their jobs, they're not getting jobs of the same caliber, high paying. At least that's not what I'm seeing. There's been few like promotions. They seem to be far in between each other, and there's a lot more people that seem to be losing their jobs every day. So, and a lot of people that haven't lost their jobs are on edge and wondering when they might be next. And so, what does this have to do with what I'm doing, I guess? And so, one thing that's great about the public sector is that job security goes hand in hand with great benefits. And so if I can make sense of all this information, and maybe put together a report that doesn't follow what the national economists are saying, because I don't believe that's what's actually happening out there. I think there's a lot of fault with how unemployment statistics are being calculated, and people are just citing them left and right. So this week I was kind of going through a lot of Bureau Labor, what was it, BLS, their statistics. They're the ones that keep all the stats for unemployment numbers, and they have all these monthly reports that are divided into categories. And so I'm trying to correlate the number of working age adults, so maybe folks like age 22 to 62 now. So in theory, that's your working population, and see what the employment numbers have been for non-farm jobs, which are, I guess, considered more white collar. They also include trades and things, but it's kind of, I guess, unemployment is a tricky stat because they seem to only take into account people who have been filing, and so you can only file for like 6 months. And so after 6 months, from my understanding, is that you have to take a break and you don't get unemployment. And then at the end of your unemployment year, so a year, 12 months total, then you can reapply again. So you're missing a lot of people who have been unemployed for over a year. And I know they have continuation filings, but it's, like I said, you have a 6 month gap, and a lot of people get their severances and then they have use that up, and that might last them for a few months. But from what I'm seeing, people aren't getting jobs, at least not at the rate that they were previously, when I guess interest rates were lower and borrowing and investments were a lot higher. So I'm just trying to see if I can come up with some better metrics and graphics, and that's kind of my side project. Because if I can, prove that, hey, the economy isn't doing so great as we think it is, And job security is probably, in my opinion, going to be a really highly valued benefit of for folks looking for jobs going for the next decade plus, because I don't see things ever going back to 0% interest rates, which we were seeing in the past. And so it's been a kind of little weird of a week. I've been looking at the census data. So the census website, they have their own JavaScript APIs. They've got a buttload of tables and surveys and variables. So looking for the right variables, it's been kind of tricky, and I just kind of got my API key and started trying to figure out how to run some queries. Haven't gotten too much into the weeds just yet, but I just kind of started looking into the whole process. But hopefully, once I start expanding this site and growing and marketing, this will be definitely one of the biggest marketing parts to this whole thing, and trying to educate people on the value of good job security, and how, it was hard to convince people of that when times are great, like the last 10 years when, people, Fang was giving, six-figure, 200K plus job vested benefits, and, things were pretty crazy around here. But it seems like, all these white-collar jobs have been, at least in the news, it's been tough sledding last year, and the start of this year has not been so great either. If you look at layoffs.fyi, they've got a nice graphic of that, showing month to month of all the different companies. A lot of them obviously in the Bay Area, California, New York, all the biggest metros of tech, and those are also the highest paying jobs, so, and most desirable jobs. And so if they're not getting these same jobs, and unemployment is still relatively low, that means they're probably taking jobs that are not of the same caliber pay as they once were, or they're still unemployed, or looking to move to a different place or lower cost of living. I don't know exactly, but hoping to get to the bottom of that in the coming months. And so look forward to sharing more info as I look into it some more. The third thing I was kind of doing, which was, I guess you could also consider it more of a side project, is a lot of these scripts that I've been writing to help me index all these jobs from all these different websites, and all this front end stuff. Well, not so much of that stuff, because that's already up there. Well, I like to, in the ideal world, have this all automated in the background. So like right now I'm running everything locally off my development setup here on my PC. But in an ideal world, I would love to have all these processing, indexing scripts, pipelining scripts done up in the cloud and automated, so I don't even have to, really worry about it, and just have everything, automated, scheduled to go index and process all this information, and then upload it directly to the appropriate places, be it DynamoDB in AWS or S3. So what I was looking into, which is something I've always been curious about, is like the DigitalOcean Droplets and the AWS EC2 servers. So these kind of act like virtual machines where you, in theory, can run any type of application. Generally speaking, it's Linux OSs. So I've used like Ubuntu and Fedora in the past, kind of familiar with those. But what I've learned so far is it's not as simple as I had thought. I thought I would just be able to create this droplet or instance and then, specify the operating system and then use it like a laptop or remote desktop where I could just copy paste all my stuff and run everything. And at the worst case scenario, I was thinking, hey, there's like this Docker or something, and I don't really know what Kubernetes, so all these things that like help, push all these your code applications onto the cloud server to have it run up there instead. Yeah, it's not as easy and simple as I thought it was going to be. And there's a lot of pain to connect things, to authenticate. There's just so many steps and processes where things can go wrong and have gone wrong, and I'm just kind of scratching my head like, hey, I thought I was following this instruction here. Oh wait, I gotta Google some more. Hey, they've had some updates since then. They gotta do this, that, and the third. So yeah, the thing about DigitalOcean, it's nice. It's $4 a month, which is nice, flat fee, simple. But from what I saw, is everything is done through the terminal, despite being, like Ubuntu I was using. And in the past, like I used a nice, like a Windows GUI interface, just with the Linux environment. And so everything is run to a terminal. So downloading, installing, authenticating, I've been trying to figure out how to work with SSH key pairs, personal access tokens, using PuTTY on Windows to create PPK password files to connect my droplets and my different accounts and GitHub, and it's just been a nightmare. And even once I got it up and running, sort of, I wasn't able to download all the packages required from my GitHub. So like you gotta run npm install, and whatever reason it's not installing everything. And even when I tried to install things manually, typing out all the commands, it still doesn't. So I don't know what's going on. I guess this is kind of something that would be nice to have, but it's not like gonna kill me if I don't have it. So I mean, what I've got, my setup right now working on my computer, it works, and if it ain't broke, no, don't fix it. So I'll save this problem, kick this can down the line, but I've got a decent starting point. I got some idea of what it can do now, and I know there's other things like Lambdas, like AWS has a million services. Speaking of which, I was looking to AWS EC2, which does have a Windows OS interface, which has a regular like Windows 10 or 11 GUI, which is cool, but I still have a lot of same connection, downloading, installation, authenticating issues that I had just running a terminal. So and EC2 is really weird, where their pricing is super ambiguous, but from what I've read, it seems to be the consensus it's higher than DigitalOcean Droplets. And they've also, it seems like their workflow is you basically create your instance, have it do what it needs to do, and then you kill it. So it seems like it's such a hassle just to configure everything, because you're basically given a brand new, it's like having a brand new Windows computer, laptop, and you got to install everything yourself. And then after you're done installing and running it, they want you to destroy it. And if you want to do it, you got to do all that over again. Like, so if I want to run all my files, I got to like copy everything and paste it. And it seems like if I need to save it externally on a different server or a different storage container, and then, yeah, it's just a pain. So I don't know if I need to do this right now, but it was kind of cool, kind of playing around with all these different services that I've heard about a little bit. Yeah, so I'm probably not going to touch that until maybe sometime later this year. But yeah, maybe it's something I'll consider, but right now it's okay the way it is. Um, Lastly, I guess, so like I said, I haven't really been touching any codes per se. Like I've been, putting stuff like in JavaScript and terminals, but like nothing's been pushed to GitHub. Haven't really saved any files, honestly. Just mostly copying data from the census and saving as Excel, so nothing super exciting. But what am I planning to do for next week? This is the last week. We're heading into the last week of the month. So I thought I would start looking into February's goals, which kind of involve setting up user profiles. So I want to kind of start looking into these things. Things such as IAM rules in AWS, incognito, and using DynamoDB to store all the user info, and having incognito be able to read in like Facebook or Google or email authentication. And speaking of which, I also need to look into emailing services. So my email for my domain PenPublic.com doesn't seem to be working still, and I need to contact Brooklyn and see what's going on. I followed their guidances to go on to, they just gave me some general guidelines for any generic hosting site, and so I'm using AWS Route 53, and I set up all the A routes and at names and all that stuff according to their info, and I'm still getting these weird bounce back emails, so I need to fix that. And then I need to look into like something like MailChimp for kind of mass mailing or auto-generated emails. I know they've been bought up by Intuit, so maybe there might be something more independent that might be cheaper or more user-friendly. These things, or maybe MailChimp is still the best. I don't know. I haven't really looked into this much lately, so I'll have to go explore. When I say look into things, I mean kind of Google see what's out there, look at Reddit or Stack Overflow or forums, just see what's the latest cool tools to use, or the best value. Also look up like tutorials on how do I start, does a beginner start from. So looking on YouTube, that's always great if you can find some info on there just to get some background before you dive, head into the docs. And then eventually you have to look at all the docs, compare all the features, and basically get into the weeds. But that's not until you've kind of selected your stack, so I need to figure all that stuff out. That's, again, won't be doing much coding at all. I doubt I'll push anything next week. Nothing that I can think of. This is all just kind of brainstorming, researching, looking into things, but that still takes a lot of time, and someone's got to do it because no one's going to tell me what to do, and I got to figure it out by myself, I guess. And then looking ahead even further, March and beyond, where is this all heading? This is basically, where is this, what's the end goal here is I need to eventually start monetizing, and that means I'll eventually run ads. My personal belief is kind of make them small, but it's still there. So whenever you have like a big long list, maybe you'll have like an ad in between items or something. So I really like the Yahoo apps. They do a pretty nice job of balancing ads along with the actual application, which I think some places can be way overboard and just bombard you with ads, and that's not good, and I don't think that's good for branding either. But I think having some ads is okay. You can't just have a clean interface with nothing to generate revenue, and eventually there'll be subscriptions, but right now I need to create the products first, and at least the baseline. I want to finish that, which I think I'll get there once I get this emailing and user auth. I think that'll be the baseline for the freemium model, and then from there I can start scaling out and working on more cooler features and products. These reports, could be something, because I'm going to be collecting a lot of job data and doing some classification. The goal is to run eventually my own AI categorization, and doing my own research and reports of what's out there, and eventually help the users, people like myself, job hunters, people looking for careers changes, or just careers in general, what's out there. So a lot of like career counseling. That's kind of the goal, to match people with jobs in the public sector. And unfortunately, the public sector is so big and so convoluted, and it's all the information is all over the place. So I need to collect all that and make sense of it for people and present it in such a way that it's easily digestible. And right now it just isn't. That means I need to get away from Google Analytics, which it's a Google product. So take the good or the bad. Like out of the box, it looks cool, but under the hood, like, it doesn't give you a lot of freedom, flexibility, and supposedly it just bogs sites down. So I know I was reading about like Umami and other analytics platforms that are like self-hosted. So that might unfortunately involve me going back to like DigitalOcean and setting that up, in the future. But that's just, something down the line I'll worry about, March and beyond. And then furthermore, I need to go start collecting different agency job listings, because right now I've got like a fair amount, mostly in California, but I'm still missing a lot of things. Want to look into teaching jobs, because they have a totally different system. I know they got like I forgot what it's called now off the top of my head. It's like ULearn, or they got their own platform that's different than the state, even though I think they're technically state workers. But it's like their own platform. Why is it slipping my mind? I think it's just thinking on the spot. I should have probably looked that one up again. But normally you would have to go to each school district. That's how it works, at least here in California. All teachers are hired through their different school districts, which are more locally, almost like a small county based, although it could incorporate multiple counties or multiple cities or cross counties. It's really weird here, and I'm not a teacher, so I don't really know too much. I'll have to do some more research. But I definitely want to expand to all the different more agencies, besides city, state, county, federal. I want more agencies that are a little bit under the radar. That I think that's where the real value comes in, because it's going to take me some time. And then eventually I'll grow using social media stuff, so that's when I get to do more of the fun stuff. Not that this whole thing isn't fun, it's just, this is kind of like the slog. You feel more like, I guess, an engineer. I am an engineer, but it's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that nobody sees or knows about, and it's not really putting your name out there, which is good, because you want, at least I believe, you want to grow at a good pace. And if you're not ready yet, I know engineers, we tend to have like this idea of self-perfection, of like, hey, we don't want to release or start putting stuff out there if it isn't perfect or A plus quality. I've always been more of a B person, so I think if it's 80% of the way there, gets you, and that only takes, it's the whole Pareto principle where you do like 20% of the work and you get 80% of the benefits, and in order to get more, the marginal cost is going to be a lot higher, more effort. So I think if everything's working like 80% good, that's good enough for me, and I'll be happy putting stuff out there. But right now I'd say things are more like 50-60%. So I'm almost there, I feel like. But yeah, I definitely want to get to that point where I can start growing that 80% of the way, and I think getting these goals out of the way next month with the emails, authentication, that will be the launching point, and then generating the value is kind of like the whole last 20%, which is still going to be a ton of work, like creating like YouTube videos, shorts, and I've got all my accounts set up for like Instagram, Reddit. I created a profile there. I got a YouTube. I got a, I think I got Twitter. Yeah, but anyways, they're all gonna feed into the same thing. It's all gonna be eventually YouTube or some kind of video platform, and then maybe a small shorts, cut ups. But it'll be more fun. It'll be less coding, so I'll get to do something else, something different, and try to use my resolve skills and maybe shoot some cool videos. I think it'll be a lot of fun. And yeah, but that's later down the line. And so just gotta get through this part first. And yeah, I think I've been talking for a bit now. So thanks a lot for listening and tuning in. And I'll let y'all know what I'm up to again next week. Thanks.